Okay, today you're going to be taking notes over Paradise Lost by John Milton. This is one of the books that Frankenstein's creature finds in the story Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. Some author background for John Milton. He lived right after Shakespeare in the 17th century, about 8 years before Shakespeare died. Doesn't seem right. I don't know. Anyway, he lived in England. He wrote in Italian, Latin, and English, unlike Shakespeare, who wrote just in English. He lived during the Restoration. The English Parliament had taken away the throne, and he lived when they brought the throne back. He did not believe in the traditional Christian Trinity. Those of you who are not familiar with the Christian mindset or literature, Christians generally believe in one God in three representative forms, kind of like the 3 points of a triangle. You have to have all three to make the triangle itself. One is God, the Father. The second is the Son, Jesus Christ. And then the third part is the Holy Spirit. And these three work together to make God in three parts, making one person or one entity. Now, the fall of Satan and the angels is part of the Christian creation myth. Satan was in heaven, and he was an angel himself, and he presumed to try to be equal to God. And so Paradise Lost addresses Satan's fall, addresses his arrogance, and addresses the angels who took his side, and all of them were kicked out of heaven. Now, there are 3 verses here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to show each one, and I'm going to have you pause the video. I'll walk you through it. When you pause it, you need to read the verse, and then I'll talk about it. So here we go. Here's the first one. Pause the video right now and read. Okay, so for this is a representation of Satan, Lucifer, wanting to be equal with God. I will be like the Most High down here. All right, I want you to pause the video here and read this one. Pause it now. Okay, here we have, this verse could apply to both Satan and a king of Babylon. It's not necessarily clear which one Ezekiel is speaking to. It may be both. It may be using Satan as a metaphor for this king of Babylon, but either way, this king or Satan they've messed up somehow, and so they're being cast out of heaven, just as Satan is said to have been. The third one is Revelation 12:7 through 9. If you don't know, Revelation is the final book of the Bible, and it deals with the end of days, the apocalypse, the coming of God into earth, and the final judgment. So, okay, you're going to pause the video right now. All right, and so this deals with the war in heaven between the angels and Satan. Often Satan is depicted as a serpent or a dragon, both sort of reptilian creatures, and so Satan is cast out and his angels cast out with him. Notice it doesn't say necessarily how many angels, but they were cast out with him. The next thing we need to deal with here, as far as making sure you're informed about the creation myth in the Christian and Hebrew tradition, is the creation and fall of man. So first, we're going to have you read the creation one, so pause the video right now. Okay, so this is God creating man to take care of the earth. God created man in his own image, meaning they're similar, but it's not really clear in what way. Now, the second verse is the Garden of Eden, description of it. So pause it to read. Okay, so here we have the introduction of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. We've discussed this in class as sort of the element that gets Adam and Eve kicked out. Eve eats of the tree and tempts Adam into eating of the tree as well. God finds out and he kicks them out of Eden. This is the fall of man once they eat from it. But they do have these orders not to eat from the tree. The third one is the creation of Eve, Genesis 2. Here we go. So pause the video right now and read. Okay, here we have Eve. The story goes that God puts Adam to sleep, takes a rib out of Adam, and creates Eve from Adam's skeleton, basically. And Adam knows that she is part of him, that they're meant to be companions. And also this part about them not being ashamed because they're sinless. They don't mind being naked. They don't even notice their nakedness because it's the natural way that they're created. And the final one here is the fall of man, where they eat of the tree. Now, this one is rather long, so I'm going to open it, and you will read, and I'll scroll down. So I want you to read, pause it right now and read. All right, should be clicking play. Here's the next section. Click pause and read. All right, I'm going to scroll down the rest of the way so you can finish out the section. Okay, click pause right now and read. Okay, in this passage from Genesis, we have Satan having tempted Eve into eating of the tree, and it describes each of their punishments, that the serpent is going to be crawling on their belly, and everyone's going to hate the serpent. To the woman, her childbearing is very painful, and for Adam, he is doomed to toil the ground, to work hard in order to have to get the food. It won't just grow on its own with a little bit of tending. You have to work hard to get your food. Okay. Some characters that you need to be aware of. We have God, the Son, and this third one, who some people say is the Holy Spirit, but we know that Milton didn't believe in the traditional three-part God. These are some angels. So, and then Adam and Eve, of course, we've discussed them, the first humans according to the Christian and Hebrew myth. Satan, who fathers sin and death. Beelzebub is the chief lieutenant to Satan. He also, Beelzebub translates to Lord of the Flies, which we may have discussed sophomore year if you had me. There's also chaos and night, who sort of make up this empty space between hell and heaven, the spiritual realms, and earth, the physical realm. And then night has some helpers: chance, rumor, tumult, which means sort of like chaos, and discord, which means sort of not getting along, or tension. Now, the genre that this book falls into is epic. It's an epic poem. Some components of epic are that the flawed hero is very similar to in a tragedy. He has remarkable origins. Also, and we'll talk about this in class some more, we have the invocation of the muse, which we'll discuss in class. You have a vast setting, so where it's set is going to be very large, very complex. The book is written in a highly formal style. They're going to use big words. Find a dictionary. And also, there are going to be supernatural elements. I mean, obviously, we're dealing with Satan, we're dealing with angels, we're dealing with God. This is going to be dealing with the supernatural, the beyond natural. And the purpose of epic, and particularly of this one, is to confront the reality of the fallen world in order to demonstrate that heroism is not just physical, it's spiritual, it's psychological. It goes beyond just what we see in our everyday lives, but heroism is being something and doing something greater than yourself. And now Frankenstein, of course, is going to relate to Paradise Lost. Mary Shelley chose to put Paradise Lost in Frankenstein on purpose. The epigraph to Frankenstein comes from Paradise Lost. It's the first page. There's a little saying before it. Did I request thee, maker, from my clay to mold me man? Did I solicit thee from darkness to promote me? This is echoing the creature's words. I didn't ask to be created. I didn't ask you to abandon me, and yet you still did. And that's taken straight from Paradise Lost. Now, Satan rebels against his creator, God. Adam also rebels against his creator. Victor rebels against his creator by trying to be God, similar to Satan rebelling and trying to be equal with God in heaven. Adam rebels in that he eats the fruit of the tree, as he was told directly, don't do this. It's the only thing that God said, don't do it, and he does it, right? And so in this, we're going to discuss the complexities of Satan's role, Adam's role, the creature's role, Victor's role, who is who, who's the creator, who's the created, and who's the hero is a question in Paradise Lost that we're going to look at. Some other Frankensteinian elements, we have the dangers of knowledge, the tree, the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil, playing God, this desire to be above God, being cast out. Victor is cast out of society and he casts himself out. The creature is cast out of society. Satan gets cast out of heaven. Adam and Eve do what they know is going to get them kicked out of the garden. Grendel, too, goes all the way back to the beginning of the school year. Grendel is an outcast from society. Dr. Jekyll becomes an outcast. He isolates himself. Some interesting thematic ideas are the danger of evil charismatic leaders. Satan is very likable. Jekyll is very likable. Victor is very likable, and yet they have this charisma, and it leads them to be a negative example. Satan at one point says he's going to make a heaven of hell. You have to make the best of your situation, but we'll talk more about this in class. Satan also resists being a servant. There's no shame in being a servant, in being humble and helping others, but Satan does not want to do that, and he's very, he lacks humility. He's very arrogant. Okay, we'll talk about the rest in class, so I'll see you tomorrow.